All right, guys. Hi. Hope the day's going well. Um, wow, it's getting cold here. So my name is Eric Fisher. If you're new to the channel, and I was in the minor leagues with the White Sox and Twins for around 8 years. I had four surgeries that put me out of the game, and went on to LA to get college degrees and start a film production career. And I've done a lot of writing and produced quite a few movies, and got married and have kids, and have been coaching athletes for a long time, and then uh, alcohol entered my life in a very destructive way. I almost died from this thing, and I was so naive to alcoholism and mental health, and being the typical man, like I can do it all, and I didn't know myself well at all. And so, through my trials and tribulations, I wanted to share three main things. These three that I'm going to share provide structure, clarity. They normalize the central nervous system. And through my studies, like when I went to inpatient rehab, and then went to IOP, inpatient, intensive outpatient, and and then fell in love with psychology. Like I never thought in my life I'd be somebody who was knee deep in behavioral and cognitive psychology and philosophy, namely Stoicism. Ryan Holiday, the Daily Stoic, is incredible. If you guys are interested in that at all, and he does a phenomenal job, talking about Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus and Seneca, and there's quite a few others as well. And then you study folks like Plato and Socrates, and these like, and Jordan Peterson as well, although he's quite confident, or what is the word I'm looking for? Controversial. Jeez, Pete. But you learn to slow down. You learn to kind of like see the world as it is, as such, rather than trying to manipulate it to be that is rooted in our previous past lived experiences. That is oftentimes, I would argue, through an autobiographical narrative. And so I shifted my focus into helping helping other people be the best they can be, in the adult space. And so I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and people who just want to be great, and shed these perceived fears and live through an intrinsic truth that's sustainable over long periods of time. So it's setting a long-term vision, and then kind of Jacob's ladder, step over step, changing into who it is that we want to become. And so, that being said, the first thing that I had to really come to grips with is, what do I need in my life? Like I was always like, especially through baseball, I was always chasing. I was always like reaching for material type things, whether it be like in the bar and I'm around big leaguers and I'm a minor leaguer, and of course, they've got all this money, but I needed to keep up with the Joneses, and I thought I needed to buy the rounds of drinks at the bar and all this stuff, when I was really just kind of like, I remember this guy, a good friend of mine, who said, "Eric, man, just be yourself. Just be yourself." And I fluffed it off, thinking like I am myself. But those little comments, we understand what that means. We could feel that inside of us. And so things like this kind of stay with you for a while. And I had to, when I was getting out of rehab, I had to think about, okay, well, my wants versus my needs. I think it's important to recognize this, because we live in a world today. All three of these things I'm going to discuss today are interconnected. And we live in a world today that is just full of speed, instant gratification. I want it right here, right now. From Amazon, you can order anything you want, and there it is on your doorstep. And so I think society and us human beings are at risk of forgetting what it's like to actually work hard for something and to earn it. Um, and so, that being said, so wants versus needs. So what I did is, I put myself in like this tiny little one-bedroom apartment, and there's a big story behind that. But nonetheless, I got rid of everything, one little thing at a time. I would take this like, called a laundry basket, and I would leave it in like the high traffic area, and I would look in my closet and have all these clothes that I never wore. I would look in the kitchen and see too many coffee mugs and just a plethora of stuff, kitchen stuff, pots and pans and cups, and then you have microplastics now too. So like, there's no plastic really in my kitchen anymore because of that. Interestingly, like us humans, I became this data junkie, and I became an avid reader post rehab. And um, so these studies show that we have about a spoon's worth of microplastics in our brain. I don't like that. I don't like the thought of that. I doubt you do as well, but nonetheless, a little side topic. But I started shedding all of this, and then, so how would I do it? So when we try to change, we want low friction, low effort. We start as small as possible, and there's also a lot of humility in that, because if we are reluctant to start very small and slow, that's our ego and our pride working on us. And so I would throw this laundry type basket in the middle of the high traffic area, and just throw like a shirt away, or a pair of shorts, or a pair of jeans I hadn't worn for a long time. Before you know it, and I had two daughters as well, and so when they were over, I'm divorced. I have a nice relationship with my ex-wife, which I'm grateful for, and we co-parent quite well. So when my daughters were over, we would apply that same sort of methodology of, like, if we don't need it, let's get rid of it. And that applies as well to things that we purchase when we're out in public as well. So we're very mindful of what we need versus what we want. I took some notes down here as well. So what I do is I read and, take some notes. And so we'll go through this today, and I'll try not to be too, the ADHD in me is I'll be talking, and all of a sudden, like, where's the squirrel? I have another thought in my head, and I just can't, like, close the loop. So part of this exercise on this solo YouTube is for me to be able to stay focused on what it is that I'm trying to say. And so I write these notes down. It's like removing excess restores clarity. You can imagine when you walk into your house, not needing to do much, not needing to clean up. There's such freedom in that. There's, when we only have, if we have 10 coffee mugs, how many do we need? Maybe one or two, maybe three, depending on what your home looks like, how many folks are in your home. But we don't need 10. Same thing with water bottles, especially if you have children. It's like, how many water bottles do we need? How many t-shirts and shirts? And I hear, especially with females, I hear all the time, I could just empty out my closet. And that's all cognitive load. So the more we have in our life, everything in our life requires maintenance, whether it be one of these picture frames in the back that I have to dust every so often or straighten up. Everything in our life requires maintenance. And so when we remove items in our home, call it living, incrementally living and progressively starting to live on the minimalism type side, we have more freedom. We have more freedom to do what it is that we want. And in terms of our nervous system, when we walk into our home or in our car, if our car's a mess, the nervous system heightens. Cortisol, the stress hormone, increases, it raises up. The amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, goes offline, and the amygdala, the fight or flight or freeze part of our brain, becomes oversensitive. And so small things feel like big things. And so when we start stripping away what it is that we want and focus on what it is that we need, there's clarity, there's that zoom out effect, there's perspective, there's a deep breath when we come home and sit on the couch. It's not, I have to do this and this and this. So wants are future looking fantasies, and needs are present moment realities. Wants, future looking, they're fantasies. Oh, I hope I have this, and I need this right here, right now. There's an urgency to it. And urgency we'll touch on here in a moment, but there's also this catastrophic thinking. There's this all or nothing, like I must have. I must have. And when I look on Amazon and all these, the algorithms are so incredible nowadays. They keep feeding you things. They entice you with things that they know that you want, but you don't know that you want them yet until they show up on your screen and you go, oh, it's that point of purchase sale. When you walk into the grocery store or the gas station, they have all the candies where you can just pick one up, or a soda or what have you. You just pick it up and throw it on the counter and check out. Those are impulse buys. And so when we focus on our needs, not our wants, again, we get clear, we zoom out, we gain perspective, the nervous system settles and normalizes, and we can live a much better life. And so there is, I think, a lot of value to understanding and prioritizing the needs in our life. So that's item number one. So, okay, number two. Okay, so there is a concept called the Eisenhower Matrix, and I had not heard of the Eisenhower Matrix. I had learned the important and urgent, and important but not urgent, which we'll discuss here in a second. I learned that through Stephen Covey, is the author of his book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And I would certainly recommend it. It's a leadership book, and it's also a book on human behavior and psychology and mindset. It's a phenomenal book, world renowned, over 40 million copies sold. And when we read, we have books that we are reading ongoingly. So when we are on a walk, we can, and audio books as well. So we can kind of like tune in or read a few pages. Stoic philosophy is that for me as well. A number of other books that we're currently reading. And then we have books that we read and put on the shelf and kind of collect us. And so Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is a book that I constantly kind of carry in my backpack with me and pay attention to. And so Stephen Covey said, okay, there's 4 quadrants. There is important and urgent, important but not urgent, not important but urgent, and then not important and not urgent. And oftentimes we think that something is urgent and important. We think that something is important and therefore it also must be urgent. And that's not always the case. That's hardly the case, right? We know when something is important and urgent, I would argue. Most folks know that. But we fall into the trap because life is busy that it is important, but it's not urgent, right? And so the way I kind of think about it is if it's important and urgent, I do it. If it's important but not urgent, I do it later. If it's not important but urgent, I delegate. And if it's not important and not urgent, it's like, well, what the F am I going to do with this anyway? So it's dismissed, it's thrown away. And so this helps us. So what is it that I do? What is it that you should focus on? You should focus on big, important, urgent problems worth solving that are irreversible. And so you can apply that to your business, your professional life, and your social life, your hobbies and your interests, et cetera. And so important and urgent, I'm reading my notes here. Important and urgent is escaping the tyranny of being reactive, living in a world of reactivity. And this is also 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? We can live a proactive life, which is pushing out our circle of influence and going out and kind of like tackling the day with clarity and discipline, which equals freedom. I know that's counterintuitive for most folks, but it's true. Discipline equals freedom, and going out and getting it, and then we can live a reactive life, which is focusing on our circle of concern, trying to control everything. And via Stoic philosophy, I've learned that we can really only control 2 things in our life, which is our brain and our body. And so when we live this reactive life, there's a victimhood mentality to this. And so what do? We focus on things that are important and urgent. Okay, so here's how we do this. I do this in the morning, just on a simple list. The framework is just 2 columns. What am I paying attention to today? What's important and urgent? What's important but not urgent? What's not important and urgent? I delegate that. And then if something falls onto my list and I deem it not important and not urgent, it gets thrown away. I pay it no attention. And so it keeps me focused. And what we focus on, we have emotion towards. And what we focus on with emotion towards it, our feet walk towards it. And so, well, there you have it. That's living a proactive life. So, all right, the third one. And this is a non-negotiable for me. My morning routines. I mean, if you have children, it's like our evenings are wild and the mornings can be wild too. Our whole life can be wild with young kids. We have 2 daughters and it's like, I love it. We're always going. And so that's another reason for me to have less, because I have more time to focus on what matters. When we can anchor in the morning, if we can set up a great morning routine that's non-negotiable, it sets our whole day up. We win the morning, we win the day. A lot of people have heard of that. And it starts for me with making the bed. And I always forget his name. I love his speech, Admiral William McRaven. And he kind of popularized this, and he has a YouTube video that's sweet. It's like, if you're a competitor and you watch that, it'll get you going, man. Like you'll be like, I need to get in the gym. I need to go out and go out and get it. It's a great speech. And then I went to Moeller High School. I also heard Making Your Bed from Jerry Faust, the famous football coach. I saw him live, which was pretty cool. And so make the bed. It's the first positive, uh, completing the cycle, positive dopaminergic feedback loop, right? There's a beginning, middle, and end to every single thing that we do, including our life itself. We're born, we live, we die. There's the sun comes up, we live during the day, sun goes down. We open the sheets up, we lay down, we make the bed. We put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, we brush our teeth, we clean it, we put it away. There's a beginning, middle, and end. I'll just tell you my morning routine is I wake up and I get outside first, first thing in the morning. So when we put our shoes on, our body says, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are you taking me? It's like a little puppy dog taken for a walk. That's what our body says to us. When we wake up without brushing our teeth, without we can do all this in our eyes, throw on shoes, our body goes, let's go somewhere. I just go outside. If it's nice out, I might walk 15 or 20 minutes. If it's cold like it is right now, I'll walk outside, take like 15 or 20 really deep breaths, and I'll stretch. Even with a jacket on, I'll just stretch a little bit. That drops our cortisol levels. And if there's a little bit of sun in the early morning, you don't want to look directly at the sun. Andrew Huberman, if you're interested, check out the Huberman Lab on YouTube. He speaks a lot about this. And there's other folks, Peter Attia, who's a doctor focused on longevity. He speaks about this as well. There's a lot of folks. This is not anything new. You've probably seen this on social media, but it's a really cool little thing. So if the sun's coming up, you don't look directly at the sun. It's not at its maximum strength yet. Call it high noon. You just look off a little bit to the side of the sun, and it drops our cortisol levels, which is our stress hormone. And so it's really good. We wake up. And so shoes right away, walk out, make the bed, shoes right away. Just walk outside. Some people love a 20-minute walk. I most times can't do that because of the kids and getting ready for school, but I do pop outside unless it's like thunderstorming. Then I come back in. No coffee yet, no phone. Don't touch the phone for at least an hour, at least 1 hour, because I need to set my day. I anchor my day, no coffee yet. I anchor my day in an emotion. I'll write a little bit, not deep writing though, some gratitude, but otherwise I'm focused on my day. This is just me. I'm focused on my day. So these bulletproof morning routines, it's structure. And our brain loves structure because it's predictable. Our brain, there's predictability to it, which again calms the nervous system. We know what our next moves are going to be. We're not aimless. We're not like a leaf in the wind blowing around, going from one thing to the next. And before you know it, at the end of the day, we're like, what did I even get done? I don't really feel like I got anything done. And that perpetuates a cycle, this vicious cycle of just like feeling like an 80%er all the time, So the morning routines are really so important. So no phone, no caffeine, and I will set my day I'll list out in those 2 columns, important, urgent, all that we mentioned before. And I'll anchor inside of an emotion that I want to feel until my head hits the pillow at night. And it's not to say that we don't go outside of that emotion, but we come back to it. And these are like little spirits. So when we say, I want to have energy today, I want to feel energetic, or I want to be, maybe there's some business meetings coming up, or we're about to have a conversation with our partner that's on the tough side, let's say, we can prepare for that. So this is beginning with the end in mind, which is also a part of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. So patience, etc. Every day, the word might be a little bit different, but when we anchor, inside of that, that stays with us. It kind of like will ping us and say like, oh, wait, hold on. Remember, you're getting kind of crazy right now, Eric. Like, settle down and chill out, So anchor inside of emotion. I do a little bit of reading. I drink warm water, and that does a number of different things for us. It gets our metabolism going. I'll simplify it for right now, but it gets our metabolism going, continues to wake us up. And then I hit the gym. For me, it's about anxiety and clarity. And so if I don't get to the gym, I'm pretty antsy. And I think part of that also was one of my problems with addiction. Not only did I shattered my L5S1 disc in my lower back, and my sciatic and nerve pain running down my right leg was just like, if just a knife going up and down nonstop. It's just like, I don't wish back pain on my worst enemy, but I couldn't go to the gym. And so I just felt increasingly day over day, just tight and wound up. And then the drink helped me escape. The alcohol usually is not the problem. It's we're running from something. So until we figure out and find out what that piece is, and that's Carl Jung, look at what we don't want to look at. Um, that's going to just keep chasing us. We stay in the weeds, and if we stay in the weeds long enough, we're bound to get bit by a snake. And so what we're trying to do here is set our day up in a structured way, but yet without a feeling like we're in a cage, um, which is still in the weeds as well. So we need to have some freedom to our life and how we build it and structure and habit and routine. Um, and habits and routines are different. Um, a routine is a conscious effort to do something. A habit, like brushing your teeth, you don't have to negotiate with yourself. You just do it. Um, a habit is Atomic Habits, great book. Great book. Big recommendation right there for that one. But nonetheless, you can play with how you set your morning routine up. If it's not consistent and not easy to do, then it does not belong in your morning routine. It needs to be easy to do, low friction, low effort, repeatable, predictable, and repeatable. So we just do it and throw the shoes on as soon as you wake up. So the closing thread for all three of these is like less chaos, more clarity. Structure creates freedom. So we can focus on what it is that we need to focus on. Identity, your identity, all of our identities is built through repeated micro choices. We are what it is that we say in our head. We are what we choose to have in our life, people, places, and things. And we also are what we say no to. And we always want to say no more than we say yes, because the cool thing about saying no more than we say yes is we can always reconsider and come back to that person and say, I've had time to think about this. It's a yes. But if we are yes men and yes women, then that's self-sacrificing. That's we're not standing up for ourselves if we are, and there's an impulsivity to that as well, right? I mean, if we're saying yes to everybody all the time, no matter what, then what are we left with? So we say no more than we say yes because we can always turn a no into a yes. We can always reconsider. And there's a lot of authority in that as well. And there's a lot of trust because when you come back to somebody, your yes means more when it's few and far between. People respect us more. There's also integrity tied to saying no more than we say yes. Peace is not found, it's engineered. We create our own peace. We create our own peace by slowing down, not filling our life with all of these superficial, narcissistic type wants that are never going to fill the void of meaning and emotion. That's how we live a great life. That's full of meaning, that's tied to positive emotion. Please read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a great book. Oh, I shoot this on my iPhone and it's just on like a little tripod so the camera moves. No, so lean in with the growth mindset. And that's also a nice way to have more joy in your life, is to radically take on the mindset of the forever learner. What can I learn? What can I learn? And so um, I love learning, and so and it's amazing how we change after we go through something that almost killed us, and everybody's kind of rock bottom is so different. But you're forced to look at the world different, and you lean into what it is that compels you forward to investigate and learn more about it. And for me, it was psychology and behavior and a little bit of sociology and neuroscience and kind of like the mystery of driven by, the mystery of faith. And most of our life is driven by faith, so when you pay attention to the stories in the Bible, like Abraham and Joseph and Isaac and Jacob and Job, I mean, these are stories to live through, like God calls out to Abraham as a spirit of adventure. And that's not an easy track. It's not just lust and pleasure, which is Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius says this, we were not born to just lay in bed underneath the covers and indulge in our lusts and our pleasures. We were born to go out and create and do good things and hard things. And then the science behind that is the positive dopaminergic feedback loop. I mean, it keeps us coming back for more. And action fuels motivation. And that's why a lot of motivational speeches don't work, is because there's no action behind it. We go see a motivational speaker like Tim Grover, phenomenal. And there's a lot out there, Tony Robbins, etc. And then we get in our car, we get on the phone to our spouse or a coworker, and you say, "Hey, I'm running 10 minutes late. I'll be there soon." And we forget all about what we were just enthralled in and felt the motivation to act. But then life gets in the way and we don't act. And so these three things, albeit with some sub maybe topics, they create structure, they create freedom, clarity, and they're forward moving, they're forward looking. And so I hope that helps. Yeah, see you next time. Eric Fisher, like, subscribe. I'm going to do this once a week. And if you enjoyed the video, come back for more. Hope to see you. All right, take care. Bye.